live from the Hallensteins on Queen Street. This is the Agenda podcast brought to you by Export Ultra, the beer for the Cricket World Cup. Not officially, obviously, we can't say that because of legal reasons, but I did.
The Agenda podcast, the home of sporting nonsense and claptrap. Brought to you by Export Ultra.
Well, welcome in to the Hallensteins on Queen Street in Auckland, where it is a great pleasure to welcome in dear friend of the show, Kyle Mills. Good morning, Kyle. How are you going, mate?
Very well. Delighted to be here.
Yeah, you're a little bit more energetic than G-Lane is this morning, which suggests to me that you didn't get up at stupid o'clock in the middle of the night to watch every single ball of what is essentially the deadest rubber that we've had in a World Cup for living memory, probably.
Yeah, I actually think G-Lane's looking pretty good.
Thanks, man.
You're in peak condition.
Thanks, mate.
This is the best I've ever seen it.
You've seen me in some states as well, Kyle. Look, I wasn't just watching, though, was I, Manaia? We were commentating on Sky Sport. So I actually had to have my wits about me slightly. What was most wounding is coming in at 10 to 2 in the morning. That's not even early. It's almost late. You know what I mean? I had to get up late.
Yeah, no, that's still night time.
Yeah. And come in and then be greeted with covers on the field and rain. So there was an hour and a bit rain delay at 2 in the morning.
Your commitment
was
though,
so
is
wounding.
admirable.
Thank you. Thank you. Look, Papua New Guinea, the heavyweight of Papua New Guinea. Highlight of the match, we'll just cover this match quickly before we go back to the beginning of this World Cup campaign, is pretty much the only ray of light was Lockie Ferguson. His 4 overs, no runs, 3 wickets. How difficult is that?
4 maidens. T20 cricket. Looks what it produces, eh?
Totally.
The highlight of the game is 24 dot deliveries.
I was thinking that when I saw it this morning. I was like, I couldn't imagine getting up at, what time did you, 1:30, whatever it was, to only then see the covers come on and then 4 maiden overs in the depths of night.
They were exciting maiden overs. I know that's hard. That's hard for you both to comprehend, but he got a wicket in his first ball. So he got and then it was a maiden. So it was a wicket maiden.
Who was the batter?
No. I don't know. I don't recognise any of those. It was Udu. Udu was the opening batsman. I remember that. Look, they had a better batting lineup than Uganda, I'll give you that. But in his second over, he got another wicket in his second over, and he had 2 wicket maidens. And then he went off and came back, bowled another maiden. And then it was like, okay, can he bowl 4 maidens? And then he got a wicket in his 4th over and a maiden. So it was a lot more exciting than it sounded. And plus, he was bowling heat. They were like, this fizzing past these poor guys' noses. They had no idea what was going on.
Swinging it as well.
Swinging and bouncing.
Hoping it.
Anyway, let's cover that. But let's go back. Kyle, we've got you here looking for your kind of expert opinion. Let's go back to the start. Now, New Zealand's campaign kicked off against Afghanistan. And there's been a lot of talk around the preparation before a tournament like this. We went in super cold. There's a lot of barbs being thrown around the lack of preparation. How important is it to have those warm-up games before a tournament?
Yeah, it's vital. I don't know the ins and outs. I kind of feel like we're a little bit victim of circumstance because I think our first game was quite deep into the tournament, 8 or 9 days in. So I think once the first game has happened in the tournament, no one can play any practice games in the event. So I think that's been blown up a little bit. Probably more, watching that game, we were really flat.
Yeah.
I think 10 days in Guyana compared to, say, 10 days in New York would be a difference to that.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if you've been to Guyana, but that can sort of make you pretty flat.
It's pretty much South America, isn't it?
It's the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it's
Jonestown.
It's quite a way away, eh?
Yeah, it's the top of South America.
Yeah.
Chanderpool. Alvin Kalataran.
Yep.
That's a neck of the woods. So not much to do in Guyana.
Yeah. 10 days. That's quite a...
Whereas if you had 10 days in New York, I think the boys would be alive.
They'd be fizzing.
Yeah.
Or they'd be dead after 10 days on the lash.
So how do you think they approached it then? Obviously, they didn't have time. Obviously, the various commitments around the world with T20 competitions meant that the team probably got together a bit later than expected. But in my mind, this is how I saw it. Potentially they saw the round robin play as their warm-ups in terms of, get Afghanistan out of the way. West Indies probably the hardest opposition. Then you've got a couple of minnows and then hit the Super 8s running.
Yeah.
And then it went horribly wrong.
It'd be better if we had the 2 minnows, the minnows first.
Yes.
Because Afghanistan, and I said to my circle of friends, they're a banana skin team.
Oh, yeah.
On those surfaces and those conditions, they can be hard work.
Yeah.
If they happen to get on a roll. And that's the case. If that game was played in New Zealand or Australia or South Africa or England, it would be a different result.
Yeah.
But the slow surfaces, they got on song. We were exceptionally flat. I don't know if you obviously watched it.
We were.
Devon Conway, part-timer, like no disrespect to Devon or anything, but he looked rusty behind the stumps. And
the fielding was bad. I mean, Finn Allen copped one in the sternum. He didn't even get to his hands. He just basically chested it down like he was in the Euros.
I know, when you were trying to describe it afterwards, when people were like, what happened? You're just like, kind of nothing. Like, we should have probably limped towards a win towards the end there, but it just petered out. And then in the end, we had to bash a bunch to try and get there. But I don't know. I just... Was the scheduling our biggest downfall? Because as soon as we lost that, now our second game is do or die, like win
Against
or go
the host
home
nation.
against the host nation. So were we dudded a little bit with the draw?
I think so. The draw and what I touched on earlier, you couldn't play a warm-up game once the tournament has started. So all these factors came into play. I think we banked on our experience, which didn't kind of come through.
Yeah.
The IPL, most of our guys weren't playing. Only Bolte was the only one that was playing consistent cricket over there.
Yeah.
So I think, I'm sure they'll do a review. If they'll have to go back and go through what we could have done better, and I think they would change quite a few things. Just adding to all this, isn't it? These minnows, like Nepal nearly beat
South Africa
the other day. Scotland pushed Australia a little bit.
USA beat Pakistan.
USA beat Pakistan. Isn't it like it's actually kind of cool for their games? So if we play those teams over a 5-day test match, we'll win all the time.
Yeah.
But if you shorten the game, everyone comes in.
Yes.
So the ACC 11 and say a one-over game against any other team, you could have a chance.
Well, I don't know about that. We're 0-7. We dropped 11 catches. Again, the Dulux tradies, we dropped 11 catches. Okay, that's tough.
Well, no, we did have.
I was there. That is true too.
We've got one win, but it's got an asterisk beside it because I think we scored 200 odd for the loss of 15 wickets.
Yeah, they put us back in again because we'd scored so little. They said just keep batting, and we did, and we put up a good score, and then they lost.
Yeah.
And then, anyway,
but look, if Jason Hoyt worked on his running between the wickets, you just never know. So
this is true.
That's where the beauty of T20 cricket is good. You're having all these minnow countries coming in, growing the game, and all that palaver is really good. You look at the Football World Cup, you've got all these teams now playing in it who can produce upset results.
Yeah.
So that is one, I think, we're a victim of it this tournament, losing to Afghanistan, but that is one positive moving forward there where T20 cricket has brought these minnows in and they've got a chance.
Yeah, well, I suppose us and Pakistan can cry together in the changing rooms because obviously they were not favourites, but they're seen as a dangerous T20 side, and for them to get knocked out by the USA is saying something.
I actually thought they could, go all the way through, actually, Pakistan.
Yeah.
They're one of those teams, I always liken the Pakistan cricket team to the French rugby team. You just don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
The French rugby team could lose by 50, or they could just go on a run and they get on form, throwing the ball around, and they win by 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually selfishly lost a little bit of money on Pakistan only because I saw a video clip of Nathan Lyon saying he thought they were going to win, and so I just stole that take and I was telling everyone, I actually think Pakistan are probably going to win this one.
Nathan Lyon, huge 2020 specialist. Plays a lot of T20.
He knows the game inside and out.
Nathan Lyon.
Yeah. Obviously, most recently you were the bowling coach for the Black Caps. Why? I was talking to Lane about this. We obviously don't produce a lot of spinners is that because of the pitches that we produce that don't favour spin? And subsequent question, everyone in the world, Afghanistan just did it to us, has this like freak spinner out there.
Yeah.
Do we need to doctor a few pitches so that we can breed a few spinners to take to these kind of tournaments?
Yeah, well, I think you're a byproduct of the environment, and you've nailed it. We don't have the conditions. We play on really small grounds, so Eden Park Outer Oval, it's a postage stamp. So if you're a spinner that gets it slightly wrong, you're met. You go to the moon. So we kind of don't have those conditions that's conducive or encourages those spin bowlers to develop.
Yeah. And then for the longest time, we've always been like, well, but when teams come down here, we've got all these seamers that have been playing here their whole lives, and so that benefits us. The problem is now, no one's coming down here, so we're just producing all of these players that have to go and play in terrible conditions. I reckon we need to just doctor up a few pitches. I don't know how you do it, but and then just encourage a few more spinners, because teams are opening with spinners in this tournament.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But is it like Kyle? You're saying it's more to do with, when you say conditions, it's actually almost environmental conditions as well. Because last summer, the pitches in New Zealand, for the first time in a long time, took turn.
They did the basin.
Yeah. Normally it's a green seamer, hardly spin it. Dan Vittori just bowled arm ball after arm ball. Basically bowled medium pace this whole career. And then all of a sudden, this summer, spinners were going everywhere.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, that basin, I was there for that basin test, and Nathan Lyon got Pfeiffer, Phillips got Pfeiffer, and this is all the talk. And I actually told, it's actually always turned here, Dan. You just... it's always been like this.
You just don't know how to do
why you say this all the time? But no, I enjoyed that test match for that reason.
Yeah.
Our pitches here have become really... they're belters, Eden Park. They're just really good surfaces. And I think, which is a good thing, producing these good wickets and good practice surfaces, but all the pitches around the country have almost become the same.
Yeah.
I feel like Australia's like that as well.
Yeah.
You'd think back to Australia, the whacker was always fast and bouncy,
Yes.
swung a little bit at the Gabba, SCG was a turning wicket,
Yeah.
Adelaide Oval was a batter's paradise. All these pitches were really, really different, whereas I feel now they've all kind of become the same. And down here in New Zealand, all our pitches are kind of the same as well. We don't have that variety throughout the country for players to experience different conditions.
And who I don't really know how this works. Who dictates that? Is it the kind of northern districts? Is it New Zealand cricket? Who facilitates and who manages what the pitches are going to be like?
I don't know. I think for international games, there's not to be any as independent. I
So
believe.
it's up to KJ and Hamilton, or it's up to Blair and in Auckland to produce a pitch that they think will produce a good game?
Yeah, I think it is.
It's up to the groundsman?
It's up to the groundsman. Well, they know their conditions best.
Yeah.
And they all talk now. I think they meet once a year, have a conference.
Yeah.
Conference.
The Council of Groundsmen.
Have a conference.
That sounds...
Or the curators.
The curators. I'm sure they do some curating during that conference.
Do some sharing of expertise.
Yeah, because I mean, you look at places like the BCCI, and when Australia toured there, and some of the pitch operations that were going over there, that completely backfired on them on a couple of occasions. I was always wondering who actually
is there an edict?
Yeah, to grounds like as this summer we want just some good pace, or we want some turn, or is it just?
Well, I think BCCI do what they want.
Yeah, I totally. Yeah. I'm not comparing NZC to BCCI.
But isn't it great? I love it how. Is there any other sport like it where you actually don't talk about the players, but this pitch gets talked about all the time? The lead up to a test match or a one day is always, what's the pitch like? Oh, it's going to do this, it's going to do that. Then the game starts, and it's like everyone's got that wrong.
Yeah, yeah. We didn't pick a spinner, and it's turning square.
We didn't pick a spinner in 2 tests. We're like,
that's right.
It's the best. Sport for hindsight, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's because we all want to be the guy that knows. It's like, well, look, if it does this, then we should pick this guy. It's like, well, none of us know. We're all fucking shooting in the dark.
Even the groundsman, because I'd say the groundsman would go, it's turning.
Yeah.
Like he would go up and say, whoever asked, go, it's turning. And he obviously didn't know that, but anyway.
Well, his little tweaker's got a little bit of purchase, and he's like, oh, we could be on here, fellas. What do you take away from those two? I'm going to call them dead rubbers against Uganda and Papua New Guinea. If you're a player, even if you're a coach, do you take anything away from them, or do you just sort of get them out of the way?
I don't think you can you?
Yeah.
It's just, we have a relatively old team as well. I think there's only one change from the last World Cup. I saw some article about that, but all our players are really experienced cricketers. The younger guy was Finn, who could probably get something out of it. But he got a duck today.
Yeah, got a duck out of it.
Second ball duck and a first ball duck in the tournament.
I think it was probably more for those two teams, Papua New Guinea, Uganda, probably, even though they got touched up, just experience playing against a really good side.
Yeah.
But for us, I think it'll be a painful week to be hanging around.
Yeah. I was going to say that. Like, what are you thinking going into a dead rubber? You're already been knocked out. Like, I can imagine it'd be pretty flat in the nets before those games.
Yeah, I think the spark would be gone. But a bit of pressure off. But a few guys, I think Bolty's come out last few days saying he's done.
Yeah.
A few of those other guys who might keep that to themselves until the tour's over.
I was thinking with Timmy as well, because Trent came out and said, this is my last T20 World Cup.
Yeah.
So that's what he said, the last time I'm going to play a T20 World Cup.
I've always said, if you're a professional athlete, never retire, because you don't know who's going to throw a contract at you down the track. You know what I mean? Who knows where New Zealand cricket is in 4 years?
I don't think he was going to play in 2 years' time. I think that was his message, and he was happy to go out with it. But Laura asked the question of him after the game and said, is it the last time we'll see you with a silver fern on your chest? And he goes, I can't answer
It's not up to me.
That's not up to me. I can't answer that right now. So
there's a few others like Kane, Lockie even, he's a bit older. Be interesting to see what they do with this T20 side.
Devon Conway,
moving forward.
He's no spring chicken.
That's right. There's quite a few there. So do you pull up stumps, go, right, we've got 2 years till the next World Cup. So
Platoon swap.
Yeah. Do you do that, or you try and manage that a little bit, giving a couple of those senior guys around?
Yeah. A lot of the headlines this morning are all going after Steady. I don't think you can... Is that throwing the baby out with the bathwater?
I think he has enough credits in the bank, to be honest. He's probably one of our most successful coaches in the history of the game for us. That's what happens, isn't it? You lose, people look for an angle.
And because, people are going to ask the question around the different formats and the different coaches, because I think we're one of the fewer Tier 1 nations who has one coach across all three formats.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to be looked at in part of the review when they come back from this World Cup?
That's we're a victim of our kind of environment a little bit when it comes to that, G-Lane, because you look at England, for example, they play their cricket in blocks. You got a red ball block and you have a white ball block. So you can sort of do that. Like, I think Baz has been home for 3 months and now he goes up to England next week or the week after to do their test match block.
Yeah.
And Australia's the same. They play in these blocks. Whereas us, who we kind of fight for people to come here and to play, we'll be playing test matches 1 week, then we'll squeeze in some T20 games, we'll go back to a test match, we'll go back to white ball cricket. Because New Zealand cricket, I think, are trying to, get games of cricket and don't care what it is or what format. So then if we've got different coaches, we've got different coaches bouncing in and out. And the nucleus of our team is kind of the same. No matter what format as well. So I think that would get messy for us, coach leaving on Sunday morning and new coach coming in Monday, and then the following week you're changing back again. I think that mixed messages. Cricket is as temperamental as it is. And so you just start getting a few mixed messages.
So it's not the golden bullet, because, you look at the top teams like India, Australia, England, South Africa. You look at those guys and they've got very regimented.
That's
Afghanistan.
right. There's seasons. So every year there's the Boxing Day tests and the Sydney tests in Australia. No matter what, they're playing. For us, sometimes we're playing a test match, sometimes we're playing a one-dayer, sometimes we're playing
nothing. Sometimes we're in Pakistan.
Sometimes we're Pakistan. So we're kind of being pulled and pushed all the time. So it'd be quite a hard thing, I think, to manage. And England's the same. They always have this, red ball cricket time, boom.
Right. Okay, well, that's the advantage of being able to sit in the room for the Future Tours program, isn't it? As three nations, so it's in England, Australia and India, and go, right, let's sort this out.
Let's set it up so it benefits us and only us and disadvantages everyone else. I think we draw a line under this World Cup for now. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, draw a line underneath the Black Caps at least. But now, as a Warriors fan, this is all too familiar territory for me. Our team's out. So who do we jump on board? We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and discuss that. So I mentioned before the break, Black Caps are gone. We didn't make it to the Super 8 group. Aussies are looking terrifying, as always. Who do we get on to beat the Aussies going forward in the rest of the tournament, do you reckon? Do you think they're the favourites, the Australians?
It just pains me, even having to answer this question. It's just,
I know. It's a real struggle for me as well, because, God, I hate them. I'm just going to come out. I hate them. I hate all my Australian friends. I like them, but then as soon as we play sport, I hate them.
I know, and the worst part is they do look excellent as well.
And jacked. How jacked is Stoinis?
He's a beautiful specimen.
He is a specimen.
But you're right, though. You sort of speak to those guys individually. I know quite a few of them well, and they're real good lads. They're good dudes. But get them together.
Put them in that yellow jersey.
Just punishing. Talk to me. So Australia, they are clear favourites. They have played. I mean, they got a little bit of a scare against Ireland, but not really. Stoinis came in and just finished them off. India, the pitches are up and down. This is the first World Cup where I've seen bowlers on top of the bat for a very long time, and That's due to the up and down nature of the pitch. They won in New York as a bit of a firecracker as well, with India defending 119. Do you think India have got the firepower to beat Australia? Is it England who look a bit flat? Is it South Africa?
Yeah, I think I can rule out South Africa for some reason.
Yeah.
I think we'll push them to one side.
Well, they're by more Rory McIlroy. They can't close. He can't even close a divorce. Anyway.
Poor Roars.
We knew we bet against them. We bet against them with the US Open. We're like, there's no, he can't even
He's got a
finish a
missus
divorce.
back in his life.
Yeah.
He can't do that.
She's texting him, when are you coming off the course?
Have you had too many beers?
Yeah, and we saw it when he lipped that last putt out and lost it. But anyway, yeah.
He saw the divorce settlement.
Yeah.
I thought, I can't do that. No, we have to write this. 200 million? No. But, yeah, Australia, I think Australia going to be very, very hard to beat. But India, just on their day, they can pull it together big time, you know, and I'd be very wary of them.
That'd be ICC's dream, won't it, the Australia-India final in Barbados in a few weeks' time. Do you think their foray into America has been successful around, that Texas and New York fixtures?
I do. It's a shame the pitches have been shit.
Yeah.
It would have been great to have a few high-scoring games and really put on a show over there. It is a big market. It's someone told me not so long ago that Cricinfo is where you go to for your cricket stats and knowledge. The most hits on that website is from India, and the second most is the States.
Right.
Yeah, so there's obviously a lot of expats living there, and to get that traditional American sports fan, I think, is tough. Yeah. Will be tough, but with all the expat community over there, I think there is a market, and why not spread the game? That's what the game needs, and that's why I think having the US there beating Pakistan is a good thing.
Well, maybe potentially ICC should maybe fund a proper stadium, at least in a couple of them. You know what I mean? Because obviously it was that pop up in New York.
Yep.
And I think Dallas is a full time setup. The one in Dallas, Texas. So that was that's the only issue. It looked great. It looked great, but I've
watched a couple of their local league there, the US League, and the expat communities out in force. It's like sellouts at all those games. But yeah, I don't think that it's like the Las Vegas thing for the NRL. I just don't think. I've always thought you've only got room in your brain for cricket or baseball. It's not both. You're never going to be able to wrap your head around both of them, and I think that's why New Zealanders never really adopted baseball. And I think it's going to be hard to get that baseball following.
Yeah.
Well, I started to get into baseball, and my wife just sat me down and said, "You are not getting into the sport because it was because they play like 80 games in a regular. It's huge. It's a huge amount of games, and it's just so much content and so much time spent watching that I was like, he's just like, no, you're not doing it. It's
eating
not
hot dogs and drinking buds.
Yeah. Totally. I wouldn't mind going to a few games. Like, don't get me wrong, I'd love to head over to the States and go to a few of those games.
What about, I find the structure of the tournament, I know I think I'm just bitter because we're out, but there seems to be almost too many minnows in the comp to where there's a lot of sort of meaningless games. We've just watched 2 of them.
Yeah.
Do you think that the 4 pools with as many teams as are in the competition is the way forward? Because you mentioned before, like obviously that does great things for the game in those countries.
Yeah.
I don't know what the viewing stats are in Uganda against the Black Caps. I presume they're great. But do you think that maybe the tournament, because in T20 you could change the tournament because they're over so quickly, you could get through it a bit quicker. We talked about us having to wait 9 days before we play our first game, then we're almost over straight away. Is there another way that you could structure the tournament that would make it a bit more interesting?
Yeah, perhaps there's a balancing act to that. You're right, and I see where you're coming from. Perhaps there could be a pre-tournament beforehand where 2 teams come through. They get there 2 weeks beforehand, like Uganda, Papua New Guinea, and the likes.
They did that in the 50 over, didn't they?
They did it in one tournament.
I can remember
something like that.
Yeah.
But look, I remember. I hate to go back to my era, but Champions Trophy in England and Australia were like the real deal. All the big boys and stuff, and Bangladesh beat them. And I just remember saying at the time, "Oh my God, you guys have lost to Bangladesh. That will never, happen to us."
Yeah.
And then I think about 3 years later, we lost 4-0 to Bangladesh.
Yes, in Bangladesh. Yes. I remember that.
So these things, there could be. Yes, we're not expecting Uganda or Papua New Guinea to tip up us at this time, but who knows? In 10 years' time, where that could.
Nepal looked all right. They looked all right. They looked okay.
And the Dutch always go. They're always there, going pretty good. And I know they got a few ring-ins.
Yeah, well, the USA, obviously, Corey Anderson playing for the USA in his twilight years.
That's right, yeah. So I think to answer your question, there is a little bit of a gap between those lower minnows that are there and because you're right, you don't want to who would wake up at 2 a.m. to watch?
Yeah, well, me.
Oh, sorry.
But I suppose that's any tournament as well. Like there were a few hidings that the All Blacks dished out in pool play as well.
Yeah, it's true.
And their one too. So I guess that is a big part of it. I think it's just the way it happened to us. That's why I'm so bitter. But so I've forgotten who your tip was. India over Australia, if it's going to be anyone.
Only because I don't want Australia to win.
Yeah. So
England.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on England? They've only just farted through to the Super 8s.
Again, they've just got those players. Like if Butler lights it up, what do you do?
Is Jofra Archer? Is he in the team or is he?
Yeah, he got 3 wickets the other day.
That'd be terrifying.
Oh,
imagine facing him on those pitches. You don't know where it's going to hit you in the ankle or the temple.
That one that didn't bounce the other day.
Yeah, like that would be terrifying. I think they've just farted through because they. What have they got? Scotland have got an unbeaten record against England because they beat them and then they've beat them in one and they've got no results in the rest of them. So they're yet to beat Scotland in a World Cup.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. They need to launch another referendum.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, I want to find out what happens after a team's eliminated from a competition, whether they win, whether they lose. What does it look like in the changing rooms afterwards? Are there court sessions? All that kind of stuff. So we'll delve into that after this. So obviously there'll be no winner's piss for the Black Caps this year, unfortunately. But in teams that you've been a part of that have won tournaments, what kind of celebrations go on after the competition? What sort of stories can you share with us into a hot microphone from your days being involved with the team?
Well, can you talk us through the limousine from the Basin Reserve?
Oh, yes.
Because that's something that people kind of know about and it gets spread out, but no one really knows about. And it's a bowlers and keeper tradition, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a wonderful tradition.
Yeah.
I think it started, funny enough, against Bangladesh.
Yeah.
I wasn't playing, so it was a few years before my time in the Adam Peruri era, I think. And they decided that they'll play for the Bashers. So they get the bales. I think they actually burnt the bales from that test match and called them the Bashers. They decided to...
Is that the Basin Ashes?
to go up to get a limousine.
Yes.
Mount Vic. So I don't know, would have been manager then, maybe Jeff Crow, maybe, or in that era, possibly. And the only bowlers, if you bowled an over in the game, and the keeper went up and Vino's and a bit of a party in the limo. It was
smoke a few cigars.
That's right. It was bloody awesome. So I can see how it was awesome, a great idea for a one-off, but how it kind of quickly became a tradition.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of beyond me. But then I came into the environment, and that's all we talked about all week is going up to the
Mount Vic. We've got to win this. We've got to win this test so we can book the limo and get up to Mount Vic.
You've got batters trying to sneak an over in to try and come into the limo. But yeah, awesome tradition, and I understand it still continues to this day. And it must cost the manager must roll his eyes. I remember Lindsay Crocker a few times.
Oh yeah, the great Lindsay Crocker.
God bless the old one foot was rolled his eyes. Oh, are you serious? We've got to do this.
He'd be like, "This is not a tradition. Okay? 2 years is not a tradition." Okay.
Yeah, and then the players and I want cigars. We want champagne, please.
Yeah, so that was always a highlight. But yeah, getting knocked out when you've lost was always flat. It's just flat. And then normally over in the subcontinent, there's 5 or 6 people in the changing room who are the helpers, asking for, to pay off their mortgage. Take all your kit, your shoes and stuff. Everything's just gone.
So you're getting fleeced.
Yeah. Oh, massively so, yeah.
And so, does everyone come home together or do people choose to go elsewhere? Is there a bit of a golf tournament?
You always tend to head home or sometimes... Oh, one of the best ones. You just reminded me, actually. There was a T20 World Cup in the West Indies, funny enough, and we got knocked out to England in the quarterfinal, I think it was, and they went on to win it.
Yeah.
Ryan Sidebottom actually bowled well against us that day.
Sidebottom.
And so we lost, but we had a tour afterwards to the States in Fort Lauderdale to play Sri Lanka in 2 T20 games.
Yeah. Right. So
since we got knocked out, we had this window of going to Fort Lauderdale, Miami early.
Oh my God.
Expected.
I hope that was before social media.
The best part of the story, Shane Bond retired after the England game and just came home. What?
Bondi.
What are you doing?
Bondi.
So we're at Fort Lauderdale staying at this amazing resort. I think MJ was out on the golf course playing golf with people and Yeah, that was a blast. But so we no facilities to train.
Right, so you couldn't train.
So you couldn't have been trying.
You couldn't train. So Brian Stroddick, the fitness trainer, tried to make us do running laps up and down the pool and stuff like us to try.
You guys like
Just trying to keep you occupied, tie you up.
So we had this thing, we had to meet at 9 o'clock each day to do some fitness for a few hours. Then the day was yours for like a week. Because we got no to wait for the tournament to finish.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
Sri Lanka may have gone through deeper into that tournament, and then they came and
So you're
that was-
cheering on Sri Lanka. Like, come on, fellas,
get to the
fellas.
finals.
Keep going, keep going.
we
Keep
can do
going.
links at this pool. Just have little rum and cokes at each end of the pool.
Yeah, we're off.
Hey, Brian. Back to the other end.
What
Another one.
was Shane Bond thinking?
I think he regrets it.
I regret it on his
regrets it.
behalf.
But he could have just pulled back. He could have. What, were you going?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
For a week. No. I'll retire after this.
Yeah,
But
no.
surely you can pull it back.
You ring home and your wife goes, "You told me you'd retired. What do you do?" Well, I just have to. There's only one flight and the whole team's coming back together, so I'm going to have to.
Yeah,
blah blah
it's just
blah.
awkward. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
relying on me.
Because then when the trainer's like, get in the pool and do a few laps, he's like, I'm retired. So I'll just be on the soup, unfortunately. No court sessions or anything like that after the tournaments.
I remember court sessions in the. Oh God! You bring back all these old memories.
No, look, it's either good or bad for you. Either
Yeah.
PTSD or not.
The infamous South African World Cup incident. You actually may have been on. Were you on that tour?
No.
2003,
Where was that? In
South Africa.
Nah, no, I definitely
And
wasn't.
the infamous Chris Gens got knocked out after a night out at Tiger.
Oh no, I heard about it.
Yeah. So we had a
heard
court
about it, but I
session
certainly
that
wasn't
day,
there.
which was good fun. But and then there was a few issues at the night time of the.
Well, that's what tends to happen after a court session.
Yeah.
Like you.
No, there's no post planning.
No,
What happens afterwards?
Well, I think now the post planning is do not go out.
Yeah.
So they're usually that's held in the hotel and the manager locks the door.
Yeah,
and
that's what
escorts
happens
people
now.
to their room. Yeah.
I've heard of
pretty much.
professional teams that would hire a fleet of taxis to sit outside, and they had a team list with players' faces, their name, and then their address. So they don't even have to talk to the player when they come out of the room. They get in the back, look in the rearview mirror. Oh, yep, that's 118.
That's Carl Mills.
Yeah, but yeah, none of that going on for the Black Caps this time round, unfortunately. I reckon that'll just about do us from Hallensteins here on Queen Street.
I do have-
Just before we go, though, Lane's got a few questions he'd like to put you through.
We ask of our guests. It's called 22 and 2. So it's 22 questions in 2 minutes, Kyle.
I abstain.
It's rapid fire. It's
He played the
rapid.
fifth.
It's rapid fire. So it's just yes or no or a choice. Okay. So Kyle Mills, this is 22 and 2. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Sex or
That's
drugs?
so easy to start.
Sex or drugs?
Sex.
Hard or fast?
Hard.
Would you rather wake up nude next to Hamish or James Marshall?
Hamish.
What's James done? Would you rather spend an hour watching David Warner replays of him scoring 100 or get waterboarded by an ex-Navy SEAL with PTSD?
Why have to take Davey Warner? Might be entertaining.
Okay. Thai or Indian?
Indian.
Eat out or dine in?
Eat out.
Freddie Mercury or Elton John?
Freddie.
Wet or dry?
Wet.
Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Travis Kelce or Taylor Swift?
Swifty.
Grant Elliott, Heath Davis and Matthew Sinclair. Who's got the biggest downstairs?
Have to be Matthew Sinclair.
What cricket legend would you bring back from the dead?
Good question. Who's the fella that got Don Bradman out? You'd dine on that forever, wouldn't you?
Oh, I wouldn't have a clue.
It should be good. We should know that.
Jim Laker. I don't know.
Who would you bring back? Anyone? Anyone from the dead?
I don't know. The Don.
The Don? Okay. Well, if the ceremony to bring back the Don resulted in you talking like Kevin Peterson for the rest of your life, would you still do it?
No.
Have you ever fired a gun?
Yes.
Have you ever killed anything bigger than an insect?
Oh, it's a terrible story, but yes.
Who's the most famous person you've met?
Famous.
Yeah. Like big time famous. You know, like Brad Pitt famous.
You've met Coley?
I met Derek Jeter. I met him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, he's all right.
Okay.
He
That's
was
good.
with J-Lo, wasn't he? Is that him?
Yeah. That was A-Rod.
Oh, that's A-Rod. Anyway.
A-Rod's been through a few. If you had a reoccurring dream that a snowman killed himself with a hairdryer, would you be concerned?
Don't think so.
If you were offered a knighthood, would you accept it?
No.
What age do people say they have had a fall instead of falling over? Oh, seems to have had a fall.
Great question. In the 60s, I think. 60.
Okay, yeah. Have you ever screamed at anyone, "Google me, motherfucker"? Okay. If you were to get a statue made of yourself, what pose would it be, and where would you put the statue?
I would not get a statue made of myself.
Okay.
No, that would not happen.
Can I tell you what Tim Southey said? He said he would be astride a stallion, naked astride a stallion with it rearing up, and he would have it in Dan Vittori's backyard.
That does not surprise.
Any chance we can get the story out of the thing that you killed that was bigger than an insect?
Yeah, I can. We're in Zimbabwe. I'm not a killer.
Yeah.
I'm a lover. And then we're in Zimbabwe in Bulawayo, and we went out to Heath Streak's farm to stay for a night, which was awesome. This was when it had been taken over by the government at the time, and so it was a little bit run down, but it had all these caves you could sleep in, and it was done up. It was really cool.
Caves?
Yeah, like awesome. Made into like an apartment type thing. It was awesome. And then the next, that night, so all right, we're off shooting. We're going to go shoot hare, rabbit, and wild dogs. I was like, oh, okay, cool. When in Rome, off you go. And then, so we went on this ute. We had this fella called Daniel, who was the spotter.
Yeah.
And with the big spotlight out, and everyone was in the turn. It was like, Kyle, your turn. Oh, great. So I jumped on the back of the ute, and we spotted these two eyes looking at me. And then, right, that's a wild dog. Yeah, knock him over. Okay, knocked him over. You beauty all went running down there, and it wasn't a wild dog. It was a cat called a serval, which is this cat like this with big pointy ears. I basically went into the fetal position myself. Shaking because I said before I love cats.
Yeah.
And then I crawled into the back of the ute just like this. And then so I just felt awful. Daniel Vittori, every time he goes to the zoo, he would like take a picture of the serval and send it through to me. But the next...
such an arsehole. He's such an arsehole.
This next day, we woke up early and Heath Streak was driving us back to Bulawayo. And I had the two marshal idiots in the back with me.
That's a theme running through this podcast.
And I had to tell Streak, because he didn't come out with us, what happened. Because the guy said, you better tell Streaky. And so I'm like, very nervous, heart's going, how do I deal with this? And then one of the marshal's boys said, hey, Streaky, have you ever heard of a cat called a serval? Streaky answers, majestic. They're just majestic. They don't come through that often, but when they do, we just love it. And I'm just dying. Just dying. Because back in the day, I think Americans would fly into Bulawayo, pay $10,000 US to go hunt these things down. It would take 2 weeks to try and track one down, and it took me 2 minutes that night. And so I told Streaky, he was like, okay, mate, don't worry about it. And got back, and Braces told me I should get it... is it taxidermy?
Yeah, taxidermy.
I'm not walking through Auckland Airport with
a stuffed serval.
Yeah, so to answer that question.
Oh, okay, you killed something bigger than an insect. I thought it was going to get worse than that. I thought Heath Streak was going to say it was his pet serval that he raised from birth. Is that Jimmy? Did you shoot Jimmy?
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for coming down to Hallensteins, Kyle. Enjoy the rest of the T20 World Cup. I'm sure we'll have you on later on down the track. Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the ACC's Agenda podcast, brought to you by Export Ultra. For more episodes, like and follow on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.